This is National Native News. I'm Antonia Gonzalez. South Dakota's Water Management Board is hearing testimony this week to determine if the state's water can be used for the Keystone XL pipeline. As Victoria Wicks reports, 2 children and their mother from the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe wanted answers Thursday about the project.
Engineer Mark Rath investigated TC Energy's application for a permit and drew up a report on water availability. In it, he determined that there is enough water to use for the pipeline. At the hearing, Rath first answered questions from lawyers representing both TC Energy and pipeline opponents. Then the 2 minor children of Elizabeth Lone Eagle took the podium to ask Rath questions, but the chairman of the Water Management Board did not allow them to represent themselves. Elizabeth Lone Eagle quickly came to the defense of her children, who had been granted intervener status early in the proceedings.
The children have even submitted their own arguments several months prior when this was brought up months ago, and it was never ruled upon. They have a name card here. They were never told they needed to get an attorney by anybody.
Lone Eagle herself was allowed to cross-examine. She asked Mark Rath if he considered tribal spiritual use of the water or the rights of the Cheyenne Sioux tribe in preparing his report, and he responds that he did not.
My review was specific to existing water rights that we had on record and downstream domestic use.
Lone Eagle asked Rath if he reviewed cultural surveys, and he said he did not. The engineer takes the stand again on the second day of the hearing, which then continues for another 3 days at the end of October. I'm Victoria Wicks, reporting from Pierre, South Dakota.
The Blackfeet tribe in northwest Montana is holding a U.S. missing and murdered Indigenous women's tribunal. Aaron Bolton has more.
The tribe will be taking testimony Friday and Saturday from community members as well as family and friends of missing and murdered Indigenous women from around the country in an effort to call on federal lawmakers to pass legislation. A handful of bills aimed at providing more resources to tribal law enforcement and better tracking data have been introduced in Congress within the last year. Over 5,000 Native women were reported missing in 2016 alone. But that's thought to be an underestimate. Prominent Democratic presidential candidates are expected to send remarks of support. The tribunal intersects with the tribe's tangential efforts to produce an MMIW documentary that's due to air in Washington, D.C. later this year. For National Native News, I'm Aaron Bolton.
2 Oklahoma tribes grappled with freedom of the press this week. As Caroline Halter reports, Osage Nation and Muskogee Creek Nation are moving in opposite directions.
Osage Nation strengthened its Independent Press Act Wednesday by prohibiting the tribe from defunding its newspaper, Osage News, and protecting journalists from disclosing their sources. Shannon Shaw is the editor of Osage News.
I feel that this was a huge victory for the Osage News and journalism in Indian country, especially when tribal councils like the Muskogee Creek Nation are taking away press freedoms.
Days earlier, Muskogee Creek voted down a measure that would have allowed its citizens to vote on adding press protections to their constitution. The nation's news outlet, Muskogee Media, lost its independence last November. According to Shaw, Osage Nation is one of just 3 tribes in the United States with press protections. I'm Caroline Halter.
And I'm Antonia Gonzalez.
National Native News is produced by Koahnic Broadcast Corporation with funding by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Support by PrairieEdge.com. Our special selection of dried herbs are chosen for superior quality, and many, sage, sweetgrass braids, red willow bark, and cedar, are wild crafted. In Rapid City or online at PrairieEdge.com. Wopila. Support for law and justice-related programming provided by Hobbs, Strauss, Dean & Walker, LLP, a national law firm dedicated to promoting and defending tribal rights for more than 30 years. More information available at hobbsstrauss.com.
Native Voice One, the Native American Radio Network.